Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our September 8th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Mr. Ball's not feeling well this evening. Could we have a motion to excuse him?
I'll make a motion to excuse him.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of August 18th, the special meeting of August 19th, and the special meeting of August 25th. Any additions or corrections?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 18th, special meetings of 19th and 25th.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Approval manifest 2014-17 in the amount of $1,192,426.36. Chris.
I don't believe I had any questions this time.
Dr. Hayes.
On page 4, it says $560 for mine mapping preparation and fence project. I was wondering if we get some more explanation on this.
I've been working with, that's for Otto, right? For Otto Jacob. Yeah, I've been working with Mr. Jacob on the requirements that the mine inspector has for us to deal with our mine fencing, or fencing around our mine areas. We have to brush out, and we were trying to locate some of the areas. You know, that's where I was. Otto's been helping us with that, and we're trying to come up with a way of getting some of those brushed out.
So we have to have someone inspect it before we can brush it?
No, he's been up there looking at it's one thing to do property boundaries, but it's another where the mine boundaries are. And so Otto's been helping us identify those mine boundaries. Because we had a surveyor come in and establish the points for our property boundaries, but we had to make sure that, see, the mine goes beyond property boundaries, and so it kind of goes throughout the area. And so been working with Otto on trying to get a designation, but we're also needing to go out for a quote on getting somebody to be able to brush those areas. So that's what he's helping us with.
That doesn't make any sense to me, but to brush out fences so we can see them better, to keep people out?
Correct. That's the directive of the mine inspector.
Does that make any sense to anybody?
Just the mine inspector, because that was, in their report, that was what they said we had to do.
I think part of it too was the keeping the trees from falling onto the fence. And
It's no different than your power lines in his mind. If you don't brush it out, number one, you have trees weakened, they fall on your fence and damage your fence. And number two is you can't adequately get to your fence to fix it. So you want to have a nice brushed out area on both sides of the fence so that you can adequately deal with it. Joe, you have something? You've been working with me on this.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, Ray, because he didn't mention it, there are some substantial areas where there is no fence. It is rotted out, and we have to put it back in. So establishing those fence lines, that's all.
What you're saying though, Doc, one of the fences closer to town here, nobody knew the pit was there, or didn't remember the pit was there, until we brushed it out to make it visible. Now they can see it and know where it is. And that's one of the ones in town, so I see where you're coming from.
Have we looked at any kind of grant money to pay for this since the...
We have, but it's through the EPA. It's a pretty extensive, drawn-out process, and your project has to be substantial in size in order for it to make do. And also, there's two parts. One is a planning grant. You have to have the planning grant before you can do the actual remediation grant. We did half of the planning grant through the brownfield, but we missed. There was one mine or two mines that did not get the planning grant. So you know, we would have to go in and get basically a planning grant first, and then go get a remediation grant. And when asked what kind of a project scope we were talking about, there's, you know, this is a federal project, so our brushing and fixing of fence lines wasn't really going to raise us to the level of where it was, you know, it was going to get much attention. But they do have a program for.
Have we
mine
considered talking with Iron Mountain or Kingsford?
Yeah.
As doing a joint application?
Yeah, the EPA will not allow a joint application. That was my main question, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put it into a Dickinson County application, similar to what our brownfield is, so that we could use Iron Mountain, Kingsford, and Brighton Township, which has Devil's Icebox. And EPA was very clear, it has to be each specific community. So it's there, and if we had a major remediation, the project that we had to undertake, we'd be able to, you know, go after it. But because we're just basically talking amending some fences and brushing some lines, I think it's, we're probably not going to get much attention.
And of course, Keweenaw Land Association has probably washed their hands of it.
They're out of the picture.
Do they still own the mineral rights though, Ray?
I believe so, but not in every case. So it's not a blanket yes or no. You'd be surprised at some mineral rights that aren't kept.
Well, I'm assuming that was, what year was that, when they put sewers on the hill? And everybody was renting land from Keweenaw up then, and then they had an opportunity to buy it, all these people that were renting.
Yeah, I think that
And
was...
is that when all that was sold or given to the city, whatever?
I think so. I don't have the exact date, but I believe it was in the 80s.
Late 70s.
Yeah, 80s. Because Third Ward, they went through the same thing, and that was in the 80s where they started to buy the properties.
Any other manifest questions, Dr. Hayes?
Nope, that's it.
Lee?
I got, excuse me, a couple here. On page 2, under Police Department, pre-employment psych evaluation, X amount of dollars, no problem. But I see it was made out to Marquette General. Did we have to send a man up there, or is that Marquette General out of Iron Mountain someplace?
No, I think we had to go up there. I don't know that specifically, but I think we had to go up there.
They had to go to Marquette.
The-
It's the only place that does it.
Okay. I
The
was
la-
wondering
the-
why run up there if we could have it done here? That answers my
Well, the
question.
first time we did that, Lee, we had to go to Traverse City. So it's gotten closer.
I'm assuming this is for a new part-timer?
This is for any new police, we have to do, yeah, for new part-timer, but we have to do the psych evaluations.
Okay, and then page 6, under cable television, almost down to the bottom, third from the bottom, National Cable TV Co-op, one satellite receiver, $1,000. Is that a new one for some more channels, or is that a replacement?
Joe, do you know if that's,
We had to buy a couple new receivers for those new channels that we have to add, per the contracts, but I can't think of which one this would be, what channel,
yeah, I don't know which one.
so I can check on that, Lee, and let you know which one it is.
Okay, appreciate it, Joe. Thank
But
you.
it is a receiver.
Okay. And just one other, not question, a comment, where on this manifest, we've paid out almost $30,000 in health insurance for our employees, just to let the people know where some of their money is going. And we have made progress on this, where it's not as much as this has been. That's all I have.
Okay, the only question I have on the manifest is on page 4. It's in the major streets, it's the Farner asphalt for the microsurfacing. It was $41,105. What we had approved on the bid was $38,025. I don't recall any change orders on that. So why was it over the bid?
I'll have to get back to you, Jeremy.
Good catch, Jeremy.
That was the only one I had.
Can I, on Lee's comment about the health insurance, just remember that that's the full premium for the health insurance. The city's capped at a certain dollar value. The employees have to pay the city for, for the difference above the cap. So that total is actually the full premium.
Employee and,
Yeah, it includes both the employer and the employee, so,
Okay.
I'd also like to mention on this manifest, of the 1,192,000, 584,000 of that was taxes that we collected for other agencies and flowed through. So that wasn't all city spending, but almost half of it was just flow through from two other taxing entities. With that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve manifest 2014-17 in an amount of $1,192,426.36.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on the minutes, manifest, or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. There'll be a further time for comment on any topic at the end of the meeting. Okay. This evening, we're going to be entering into a public hearing on Ordinance 412, an ordinance to regulate the orderly operation of trucks and vehicles of excess of weight and size on public streets within the city of Norway. And with that, I need a motion to go into public hearing.
I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Anderson.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've been working through, we've had a couple of readings under our committee meeting of the whole, and now we're into public hearing for our ordinance to regulate truck traffic on local streets. We had an opportunity to meet with our new attorneys. Mr. Carlson and Mr. Perkala came down, and we had a chance to go through, and I think that, my recommendation tonight, let's go through, we can solicit some final or additional questions on the ordinance, but wanted to make it clear, especially in our conversations with our legal team, that we really whittled down to what we thought the intent, the interest of that ordinance would be. And the gross weight, we have 10,000 on our gross weight. That's not, I think what we're going to recommend that come up to 26,000, and that is based off of a rating system that the police actually have in their ticket system, that they have different classifications, and it's based on the gross vehicle weight, and that would really be your truck with trailer, your heavy haulers, and that when we look at if you're just looking at the weight of the vehicle, the complaints that we've heard, there are some complaints about the potential damage to the streets, but a lot of also other complaints, mostly from residents, are that there's noise, vibration, and it's usually dealing with the trailer being with the tractor. So you have the full 40-foot, 50-foot, 60-foot rig in your local streets. So from a weight standpoint, when we go through and design our streets, I think that's something we need to also consider on your pavement thickness, but we're going to recommend that we increase that. The other is that I did receive a letter from an overroad trucker who lives in town, and he's not able to, because of his schedule, he's not able to come to meetings or even meet me in the office, but his day off, he came in, he left his number, and I told him to write a letter, so I could clearly see what his concerns were. And the biggest concern he had is, of course, he is to actually drive the tractor back to his house. He can figure out ways of dropping the trailer, but getting the tractor back. If we don't, and I've heard this before, if we don't allow just the tractor to go to the house, then, and this is really what's sort of stalled our conversations before, is do we have in the community a park and ride, an adequate park and ride where they could park the tractor, plug it in, or leave a car when they're on the road and have adequate lighting where it's safe. And that's always been kind of a difficulty. So, you know, as we work through this, we're recommending within the language that we don't outlaw right now that tractor going to the house. Tell them they can't bring the trailer, find a place for your trailer, but you can drive to your house, because at least in the initial ordinance, that will allow us to evaluate that part of it. All right, and if we do end up getting complaints and having problems, then I think that we really seriously need to look at a park and ride and deal with that issue separately. But outside of that, we solicit any comments or questions you might have.
Well, first thing, I should have did this earlier. I'd like to welcome Grant Carlson from Mullen Solello as our new attorneys in the interim here while we're doing proposals for long-term replacement for Jay. And I should have did that at the beginning, Grant, so I kind of missed on that one. But have you had a chance to take a look at this?
I have, sir.
What's your thoughts?
Well, just trying to glean from the council what your proposals and what you're looking to accomplish. I think sitting down with Ray and chatting at length with him, I think this ordinance does accomplish what the goals of the council appear to be, which are to respect the citizens that are living here, but also try to walk that line with respecting folks that are working as over-the-road truck drivers and work with those big rigs, as Ray mentioned. I think that it does address, and lifting up that weight limit does address some of those issues. I think one of the things that we just have to make sure is that if we are going to be designating truck routes, that we have notice for folks to know which routes those are. So if we are enforcing this, that we have that opportunity to be able to explain to folks where these truck routes are indeed located, and that if there are tickets cited, that the person if they are fighting it, has an opportunity to, they have notice of that designation, so that it doesn't appear to be well stated where it's at, where those routes are at. But I think it does reflect what you folks are looking to do, and I think it does so adequately, and I think it's clear in that context.
Well, does anybody from the public wish to comment on the truck route ordinance? Please come up to the podium. Tricia, can you get the mic? The mic's turned on.
I'm Katie Moyer, I live on Lower Pine Creek Road, and me and my husband own Moyer Excavating. I guess the process of somebody being able to even drive a truck, so they're paying to get a CDL, they're paying for a DOT physical, they're paying for registration and licensing fees, and that goes upon how much a truck weighs. So they're going to pay more in 1 year for a truck than somebody is in 5 years for a car. They're paying a higher price for diesel fuel. They're also paying for insurance. Every quarter, they are paying an IFTA, that's a fuel tax, for them to be able to drive on roads. That's an addition. So we own an excavating company, so for my husband to deliver a load of topsoil, he doesn't necessarily need a permit. But now with these he doesn't need a building permit, but with these road restrictions, either the owner or him will have to purchase a permit. And then his issue is where does he park his dump truck to come into the city hall to purchase a permit? Or my husband has a full-time job, so he does do this evenings, weekends. So somebody calls, how does he get a permit last minute to be able to, accompany the customer? I just think for the economy, we're a small town, it's good to get more businesses to the area. I think sometimes, the road restrictions may limit that. I did have some suggestions down as if people were gonna open a tow truck company or a moving company or a lawn care business, but I guess that'll be exempt because you did up the weight restriction from 10 to 26,000. Let's see. And against the complaints, I guess is it just that the trucks are parking overnight on the roads, and then the early morning startup with the noise? my suggestion, could there be an ordinance to not allow trucks to park within the city limits when they're not in working order, like they're not working right now? I guess I just think that putting the restrictions on the road will in fact hurt the economic growth in the city, and they could have a direct impact on our local businesses.
How much does a dump truck full of dirt weigh?
He said his dump truck empty, was it 26,000?
22,000.
22,000?
50,000 full, depending on the size.
That is all, thank you.
Could I get your name again? I didn't.
Katie Moyer, M-O-Y-E-R.
Did we exempt home delivery?
Yeah. We didn't, when we talked about a possible permit system, we used it off of, we were thinking off of, in fact, that was one of the questions that Grant and Rob threw at us. You know, are we prepared to handle dealing with the permit? We were going to suggest that if it's a project, most of the projects that the homeowner has to handle has a zoning compliance permit, and it would just be identified under that. We're not looking to have new permits. If if the delivery topsoil, use this example, if it has a delivery location, resident, then I would recommend that we exempt that. We were going to recommend to exempt that as direct delivery. If they're going from one of our businesses and they're taking alternate routes throughout the local streets, that would not be exempt. And then we would address it. And that's the complaints that we're getting. That's
So I
the
think
complaints.
in your situation, for home deliveries, you're gonna be.
Yeah,
Same with a cement truck delivery.
Yeah, cement, I mean.
Hey,
the
you're
law
building a
firms-
house, no problem.
We specifically were thinking of, like Laughlin's, they have a flatbed with a boom arm, and, they deliver to homes all over the place. Home Depot was another 41 Lumber, so I mean, we're not looking to try and stop the home delivery. What we're trying to stop is, someone coming from a business and wandering all over in a local street, because they don't want to go off of a certain corner.
95% of the complaints I got were from people living on this one street that's the narrowest street in town, and truckers taking a shortcut through it when there was no reason for it. If they went two blocks farther, actually 1 block farther, they're on the highway. Here they're taking a shortcut and they're going 3 blocks through a residential area, which is the narrowest street in town. That's what I'm trying to get away from.
So hopefully that addresses your concerns.
it would just be if you were going to somewhere to haul, like the Lori's sand pit, you'd have to stay on the truck routes coming in and out of the pit. But if you were going to a residence, you could go to the residence and deliver.
Same with work then, if you're, say you're improving a yard, laying stumps or something, I mean, you don't get a permit to do none of that now, but we do a lot of that.
Yeah, we don't want to add additional permitting. That's not our intent at the office here. I mean, if you have a location you're going to, I've spent some.
I'm certainly not gonna just drive around with the dump truck.
Right.
But yeah,
I'm going from point A to point B, but.
I spent some time with the chief, and that's a big concern. He wants to be able to tell his officers. And quite frankly, that if you do happen to talk to one of them, you got a location you're going to, that's good here. Good job, that's our intent too.
I know it's not always the case in government, but we'll try to use common sense with it as much as possible.
If 95% of the problem is with a single street, shouldn't we develop an ordinance that specifically prohibits truck driving on that particular street?
Well, it's not just that specific street. I know that's the one that.
That's the complaints I've been getting.
That's one Lee's been getting. It's not that specific street. I mean, there are others, and quite frankly, the flatbed 40-foot trailer with tractor that parking on a local street, we'll get a complaint about that. It's chains in the morning. It's the narrowness of the street. it's just not, it's not conducive, you know, to be there for any length of time, and we get those complaints. So, you know, that's why we want the driver to, you know, unhook that trailer somewhere, and if they're coming in and out.
Well, I know we've also gotten some with log trucks parked on the street,
Log trucks, yeah.
and just from just the truck being there, but also the debris that falls off the truck. And have had some complaints brought to my attention of idling in the morning, or letting it idle all night in the winter, and the noise and the fumes from that.
You know, that we won't be able to solve based on the, you know, with the tractor, because they're gonna have that anyway, but at least this is a start.
And I agree with all that, but still, wouldn't a specific ordinance prohibit trucking on that one street be of value as well?
But then it doesn't address the other streets, Doc.
Well, we're doing that as well, that's, I mean, that's what we're discussing right now, but shouldn't we have an ordinance for this one particular street was my concern.
I don't know. Grant, I mean,
If it's specific, I guess, we've got a general ordinance, we probably don't need a specific ordinance for it.
You know, frankly, it's up to you folks. As the council, I take direction from you guys. If you want it to be more specific, we can specifically designate a specific street. If you want it more general, to have a little bit more leeway perhaps, and have a general intent and general ordinance such as what you have, you can do that as well. But both of them are viable questions and viable options. It's just a matter of which direction the council wants to head with it. And what's the issue? Is it more of a certain street, I guess, as Mr. Minigini indicated, or is it more of an overall issue? I guess I'm hearing both, but more generally, that it's making sure to protect the city streets throughout the entire city from some of these nuisances.
Perhaps I'm not making myself clear. I think we should go ahead with the general ordinance, but shouldn't we get a sign for this particular street that says no trucks?
Well, we will.
right, we will put up,
But you're not gonna put that on every street in town. That's why generally if you put up a sign, you have to have an ordinance for it. That's why I was asking, should we have a specific ordinance for this one street, so we can put up a sign that says no trucks?
After we pass this, the police could request a traffic control order to put that sign up. So that would be what we'd use to put the sign up.
Don't we have some no truck signs already in town? I think I recall seeing one or two.
yeah, they were placed up on requests from local residents.
We also have some truck route signs when we don't necessarily have a truck route.
Right.
So,
And they've been there a long time.
please come up.
Bruce Atkinson, 109 Fourth Avenue. In this ordinance, are some streets besides the formal truck route, you know, that goes around, are they exempt in here at all? Are there any streets that are exempt?
We have
From this.
28 streets or sections of streets that trucks are allowed.
Oh, okay. Would that be Fourth Avenue and Stevenson? The only reason I'm bringing that up is that.
Yes, both of those are allowed.
Okay, because there's a lot of trucks. You know, and I probably watched 100 of those, and I don't know what they were hauling. The Gunville trucks, those are the ones you're referring to? Saginaw? I must have seen, I wondered what they were doing coming on the Kimberly Road, but I bet you I watched 100 of them go by my house, and I don't know if this is short-term or long-term.
On Kimberly, they're coming out of Versa.
Oh,
They're
okay.
coming,
I don't know what
they're
they're hauling or
coming
where
the
they're
back way out
going.
of Versa.
But there was a lot of truck traffic of those big trucks. I didn't see one of them turn on Saginaw, and I can't for the life of me figure out why they would turn right on Saginaw instead of going one more block to the highway. That makes any sense at
Exactly.
all. So I don't know where the complaints were coming from, but I just don't believe that there were lots and lots of trucks taking that route. Because I watched lots of them go by, and that's been going on for months.
Maybe they found out it was too hard to turn on Saginaw, but they were.
Are they? I didn't see one do it. But, okay, well, I just wondered, because there's a lot of trucks that go down
Stevenson and Fourth are
Stevenson.
both in the list.
Personally,
So
I'd
is
like to keep them
Lower-
off Kimberly Road, but we can't.
Lower Pine
Send them
Creek is
out to the
also on
highway
list
where
of
they should go.
approved roads, so there's no issue there.
There isn't, you know, there isn't a lot of big trucks that keep going, but there's a lot of stuff that comes from 8 to Stevenson, and it goes, they're either going to Lawfoams, they're going somewhere. A lot of stuff trucks making that turn. There's a lot of larger trucks that go down to Peterson's too. And I'm just waiting for one to take out that street sign again, because when they go around that corner, they come real close. Okay, well, that's good.
council comments, staff comments? Anybody, anything else they want to add? Any further comment? Any further comment?
Make a motion, we go back into regular session.
Gotta do it one more time. Any further comment? I call it 3 times. Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. We will be taking no action on this evening while we go over the suggestions we've received and other things for consideration that we've had come into the office, like the letter. So we'll be looking to take action on this on our next meeting, which is September 22nd. We have 3 items this evening under appointments and presentations. The first one, the individual's not here.
Yeah, he's not, he had an accident and he's going to reschedule.
Okay, so we had Tom Nemechek, the Executive Director of the Upper Peninsula Travel and Recreation Association. Grace said he's not going to be here this evening, so we're just going to move on. The next thing, we have Resolution 2014-27, a special tribute to City Attorney E.J. Oliveris. We have prepared a resolution this evening to honor and recognize Mr. Oliveris' service to the city for 35 years as the city attorney. And I'm going to read the resolution at this time. Let it be known that it is with great sense of admiration and respect for all of the contributions he has made on behalf of the people of the city of Norway that we salute E.J. Oliveris. Whereas, in his 35 years of service, E.J. Oliveris demonstrated that he had the courage necessary to make tough decisions and understood the important role he played in making the city of Norway a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. He served the community with a solid work ethic and dedication to his position. Whereas, through his 35 years as city attorney, E.J. Oliveris demonstrated a passion for his constituents citywide. Whereas, we mourn his loss and extend to his wife and family our sincere sympathy, and pray that his family take some comfort in knowing that he meant so much to so many and he will be missed. Now therefore be it resolved that we affix our signatures to this resolution to honor the memory of E.J. Oliveris for his years of outstanding service to the citizens and employees of the city of Norway. He will be missed both professionally and as a friend. If there's any other comments, anybody wishes to add, otherwise we're looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2014-27, special tribute to J. Oliveris.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Next on the agenda, appointment, designation of voting delegate to alternate to the annual Michigan Municipal League Business Meeting. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is some housekeeping. Every year, the Michigan Municipal League has an annual convention. Most of the time, the convention is handled or held downstate, sometimes far away as Detroit. This year, we're fortunate that the meeting is going to be up in Marquette, and each year, whatever employee or council member that is heading to the annual convention, we need to designate a delegate for voting purposes at the annual meeting. If one of the council members is interested in going to the convention, it's on October. The meeting is actually on October 16th. The total convention is the 15th, 16th, and 17th. But if not, I will be going up there for the meeting, and so if there's no council member, then you could designate me as your delegate.
What's the council's pleasure? Does somebody wish to go up to the meeting and be the delegate or designate Mr. Anderson?
Is anybody going to the meeting? Make a motion, we make Mr. Anderson
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, in our communications this evening, we have 7 items that we're going to be approving, or going through anyway. First one is Resolution 2014-28, Norway Area Master Plan Adoption. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you remember, this past, first part of the summer, late spring, early summer, council passed a resolution to move forward with the 63-day notice, the public notice for our master plan update. The Norway Area Planning Commission has been working on updating our master plan for the past, I'd say, start of last year, when we started going through it. Most of the updates were to update the census data within the master plan, but we did update the formatting and tried to make it add some legibility to some areas that we thought could use the help. But from a content standpoint, it's pretty straightforward, similar to what we had. It is customary that every 5 years, the master plan and the zoning ordinance, your major plans, have a review, and not necessarily need to be amended, but definitely have review. Because of the census data, we needed to amend our master plan. So the Norway Area Planning Commission last week held a public hearing on the master plan and moved to send it to both the council and the township board for adoption. And a resolution has been attached for your pleasure.
Any questions or comments?
All these, excuse me, all these questionnaires in there, Ray, is that an updated one? Like, when was that taken, or does that go
No,
back, way back when?
The questionnaires are from 5 years ago.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we didn't send out the questionnaires this time. You know, we spent a lot of time just dealing with the mechanics, the census data, and trying to just make tweaks to the recommendations that we had already in the plan. Because it's, you know, within 5 years or 5 years old, a lot of the areas are still pretty fresh, so. I would think that in the next 5 years, when we get to that 10-year period, then you probably see a pretty major, you know, effort with, you know, that kind of effort again.
Yeah. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that Resolution 2014-28 be approved for the Norway Area Master Plan adoption.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Next on the agenda, approval, Department of Public Works radiant heater replacement. Joe, what?
In the Department of Public Works building, we have radiant heat with gas tube, and there is one heater that is, and the gas tube is rotted out. It was brought to my attention about a month ago, and I told them to go out and get some quotes for repair. That's what you see in front of you tonight, are the 3 quotes that we received from Beela's, Rick's Mechanical, and Jacobson Heating. Obviously, for common sense reasons, you know why we need to replace the heater. So, Beela's was the low bid at $2,000.
I noticed here, Joe, that, well, the one bid was really high, but there was a lot more option 1 there. It was a lot more involved. Or option 2 was only $500 off.
Yes.
And
that's
on that
correct.
third one, I have no idea what they were bidding on, because they were more than double the other 2.
Yeah, it's the. we're gonna-
Quality-wise, this tubing,
Yes.
is it,
They would all get the same manufacturer tubing.
oh, it would, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big difference was Beela's engineering felt they could reuse the shields that go above it to direct it down, because they were in
And what
okay
if,
shape.
and then what if they can't?
Well, they felt they could, so they're gonna have to be, if they can't, then there's gonna have to be a change order. and it'll be for the cost of the shielding. Where Rick's Mechanical put in a bid to replace the tubing, the heater, and the shielding, and that's,
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. And then what happens if they want the change order and all of a sudden it's a couple $100 more than the other bid?
well, that's a problem.
Well, I would think it'd be his problem.
I would recommend that we table it and get a price for shield, so we have an apples and apples
Okay.
price.
All right, that's fine.
You know, that way.
We're not in
it's-
that big a hurry to get this done.
That way it's clear.
It just came across my desk. I can get a bid for some
Supposed to be
beadless for
51
shielding.
degrees Thursday, we might need it quicker than we figure.
That's true,
A couple more weeks isn't gonna make a difference.
yeah. All right.
Why don't
I'll
we
get-
do that then, Ray? Good idea.
I'll get shielding on that other bid.
You wanna make that motion, Lee?
How do you want the motion, just to
Just
table it? I'll make a motion, we table.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
No.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Next on the agenda, approval, police department, sale of 1973 machine gun. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The 1973 machine gun, it's actually not a 73. I think it's older than that. We bought it in 73. But that's been a machine gun that, or that is a gun that is not in the manufacture. It is not a useful weapon for the police department, and it has been basically in our department for a long time, as you can see. We actually use the M4, which is through our CERT. Chief Schaefer brought this to me a number of weeks ago, where he actually had a contact of a buyer, potential buyer. This particular weapon it's a very specific or very limited clientele, and I think we have an opportunity to get a decent price on this weapon and take it out of our hands. So we're highly recommending that we move forward. We will get a full $5,600 off of the sale for this gun.
Two questions.
Sure.
It's a pretty neat-looking machine. How much did we pay for it? Can we, just out of curiosity, I know nobody here
We have
was
the
here in
actual-
73 except for me, maybe.
We have the actual
Bill of sale
manifest.
on it?
We have the bill of sale.
Do you remember what it
I
was?
do not remember what it
Curious.
was, curiosity, but I don't remember what it
Okay.
was, but
And then I see they
do
can't
have it.
sell it to somebody unless they have a Class 3 license. What would you have to do to get a Class 3 license? I mean, can I get a Class 3 license?
I do not believe you can get a Class 3 license.
So
with
what's so special about the Class 3 license? I guess that's my question. Yeah, it says,
Bruce, Bruce,
Do you have
you-
any knowledge?
I've got my FFL, but I have no idea without researching it what that class is.
I think it has something to do with, you are actually authorized by the government, by the federal government.
I mean, that's a
to
fully
obtain-
automatic weapon.
Correct, and you have to be almost military style, to be able to purchase a weapon like that. There's also some rules within the buy-sell now with weapons that if it's considered antique, which the age of this gun would be, that this person can buy it, but there's some very limited you can't just buy it and resell it.
Resell it,
resell
yeah.
it, right. In fact, the only really other area that, a choice we have is to destroy it. And that's what's happening to a lot of guns, but this is
Which
an
would make
opportunity-
this more valuable if they're
If it's
destroying a whole bunch of
destroyed?
them.
Well, it's valuable because there's a limited number of them that were ever produced, and we actually have the ability to sell it. I mean, we may be mandated to destroy it, and so we thought it's better for us to sell it now that we have a buyer. I mean, you could go out and see if there's other dealers, but I think the appraised value that we saw, it's,
ISIS would probably bid on it.
yeah. I think you're best to just get it out of the city.
I'm not against selling it, I'd just
Yeah.
like to get a little history on this thing.
When I talked to the chief about it, he said it was manufactured in the 60s. It was mid-60s when it was manufactured. As an automatic weapon, it's registered with the ATF, and they can come in at any point and ask to see our machine gun, so we have to produce it. And so that's why he was, and it's a liability. When you look at, for insurance purposes and everything, it's a liability to the department. So he just wants to get rid of it. And we found a dealer that can legally take it. And when you're looking at it, pay us a fair price. When you factor in the transfer costs and the auction house, if we were to try to auction it,
Well, I'm not complaining on the price or anything, I just want a little history on it. And out of curiosity, see who authorized to buy it and what we paid for it. For all I know, it might have been my dad, but I don't think he was chief in '73.
I think there had something to do with the riots. We were concerned, but that's a story, you know.
any other questions or comments?
I guess that would be unusual for the city just to sell a piece of property without getting some kind of a bid process, but.
We don't recommend a bid process, but that's certainly up to the council.
Did you, I know I'm just coming on board here and it's on a temporary basis, but, you know, as far as the legality of selling firearms from a city entity or a government entity, have the guidelines been researched and made sure that we're in compliance with that and we are able to sell a machine gun?
That is one of the, that's one of the things that Chief Schaefer did pretty extensively, and with this Class 3 dealer, he was able to they walked through that process to make sure it was very clean, very above board, like you said. Because, yeah, it's a process, ATF being involved, I mean, it's a process.
Well, I understand if it was between myself and the dealer, and if the dealers were, I guess my only concern is, of course, the legalities of it.
Sure.
On governmental entities selling a firearm, just making sure our butts are covered and making sure we're doing it the right way. With all due respect to the dealer, I just want to make sure that if there has been it's been looked into a little bit on your end before we rush into anything. And I don't know how long this has been on the table or how long this has been sitting out there. But that's what pops in my mind as your attorney. Is just I want to make sure that we're selling a machine gun or an older firearm, that we're doing this the right way, so that down the road it doesn't come back and bite us, even if, for a reasonable price. I don't want it to come back and cost the city more.
Through my conversations with the chief, that was an area that he was especially focused on. Was, he knows he has a liability having it here, and what he's looking for is a clean way of removing that liability, and that's the process he used, and I believe that he dotted his I's and crossed his T's on that way. I mean, if it's pleasure of the council, we could approve it, with maybe Grant taking a look at it or your office taking a look at it just to double check.
I can see Grant's point there, but as long as we bought, again, this is just me speaking, as long as we bought it, I would think there wouldn't be an issue because it's going to be taken care of properly. But like now, the ex-military, they're giving some of their surplus stuff to like Arizona and different places where they got these, and if it was given to us and we turn around and sell it, then I would think we'd be in deep doo-doo.
I think
But as long as we purchase it, I would think we would be.
And I think that having the original bill of sale,
Would
right
help.
from a manufacturer, was part of the making it pretty seamless. But again, I mean, I would, you could approve the sale, again, pending their balance level review of the process.
So what's the council's pleasure of this?
I say sell it.
We have to do a motion.
Want a motion to that effect? I'll make a motion, we sell the submachine gun for a total of $5,600.
Do you want to include pending the review?
Pardon?
Do you want to include pending a review from Hounslow?
Fine.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Next, approval consent to common representation agreement. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our last, or at our special meeting where we hired Mr. Carlson and Mao and Solello, we did comment or make a reference that we are currently using or working with Norway Township on a couple of agreements on our wastewater treatment project and our water project through rural development. Mr. Ryan has offered up a consent for common representation form or agreement for him to do all the main work on the contracts that we're currently working on. I'm putting it in front of council for consideration. I think that this would help in moving the project forward. Since Mr. Ryan is going to do the lion's share of that, work and that contract. But we also, have Mr. Carlson to kind of look over, again, on the city's behalf. So what this would do is it would basically cut his main rate in half, and the city would pay half, and the township would pay half for this project specific only.
Would there be any conflict of interest, Chair, seeing as he's been our representative for X number of years, and all of a sudden he wants to join in and help the city, and
Well, I think that's what he's saying in the agreement. That,
seeing that it's fair to both sides?
yeah, that's what he's spelling out in the agreement and through the recitals and the terms of the agreement.
I'm a little nervous about that.
I got a little bit of issue too, just because we hired Grant to be our attorney to represent us on these things. And so now for this item, we're gonna hire somebody else. This isn't like a labor attorney where we're a labor situation where you hire a labor attorney. This is contract.
Yeah, he's gonna be doing work with, okay, here's a scenario. I mean, when we started the discussions, we had our attorney, the township had their attorney, and we went back and forth in the discussion for the terms of the agreement. Where we're at right now, we are pretty close to having all the terms, but someone has to draft the guts of the agreement. Now, we don't, we now have Mao and Solello, but do we turn that completely over to them when they haven't been part of the discussion? Peter has been part of the discussion, and what we're saying is that the township's willing to pay half of that development, and we pay half, so it's $75 per hour. And then you still have Grant looking over the terms even after he's done developing it. So I guess it's kind of like an engineer that's doing the design on a road, and then we have some oversight above that. So it's not like they're representing. I mean, I know that I went through the terms of the recitals within the consent form, but I mean, it's really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the agreement crafted and done, and I guess that was a suggestion that I had, since he had already been working on it. Just have him finish it up rather than have the township tell them, hey, wait a minute, hold off, we don't want to spend any more money on this. And, now you got your contract half written, and I gotta get it back and turn it over to somebody else, and, and now we're in the back and forth again. So,
I don't see any problem with going ahead with this as long as we have Grant's office reviewing it and making sure that it's in our best interest as well.
quite honestly,
We're paying for 2 lawyers then at the town.
Lawyer.
The township's paying
One
for
and a half.
but you're
One
paying,
and a half.
Yeah.
but you're paying him at $75 an hour and Grant at $125. So, I mean, I'm not speaking out of turn here. I don't think that, I mean, if we asked you to craft the agreement at $125, it'd probably behoove us to do it at $75 and have you just review it.
I mean, in all fairness, for the benefit of the city and cost saving and getting this done, if this has been going on, and there's been ongoing discussions well before I've gotten involved here. And Mr. Ryan has been that individual, and Ray, you've been working closely, if it's been you as well. Basically, what I'm hearing is that Mr. Ryan would draft the documents that you guys have already agreed upon. And then I would review those documents to ensure with you that those documents are in compliance with what you guys have agreed upon behalf of the city. And I think that would make some fiscal sense, rather than getting me up to speed on and participating in drafting them themselves. I can, our office has done these types of agreements before, but if you guys have specific issues that you've already drafted, already agreed upon, and already been involved in working on, I think there's a real likelihood that it probably will get done quicker because of that, because Mr. Ryan has already presumably started working on this already, has been engaged in the negotiations, and our office will be there to look over it to make sure it's representative of what has been agreed upon between the township and the city. And the drafting of the documents does take time, and if he's willing to do it with and represent what the agreement is, I think it does make some fiscal sense.
So this is the agreement between the city and the township?
Yeah, the city and the township are agreeing that in crafting of the document that we're paying, we're gonna split his time, and so for us, it's gonna cost.
I was asking what the document was again.
It's,
Explain more detail.
yeah, we
What he's
both sign,
crafting.
the agreements are for the ownership of the sewer system in the township, the management of the sewer system, the franchise agreements. There's like 3 documents that we've been working with in the township.
Isn't that the township's
No,
responsibility?
it's our project, Doc, it's our project. We're asking them, so we're going to them with these agreements. So,
Yeah, Ray is right. In this case, the city's project, and the city would probably be in a position, if we were starting fresh today, to be at the lead in drafting those contracts and presenting to the township for their review. So it seems to me, knowing as far as Peter is with this and working with Ray and Leonard, I would suspect Ray, there's not going to be a lot of time involved in finishing those up that year.
we've done a lot of work already. So.
I agree with Grant. I mean, I think this is probably the most cost-effective way to do it at this point. Have a longer story than that, but I think that would be fine. As long as Grant gets a peek at them, he can spend a half hour, that's only gonna cost you $62.50.
And I'm sure that's all it will take, will be half an hour to review all 3 documents. We'll do my
They're
best.
pretty straightforward, you know, R&D requires certain stuff, and they have guidelines for them, so it's not gonna be a real rocket science thing.
Just seems strange that we're signing an agreement for our system, but it's in the township. But if the system is in the city, we're paying 100%. If it's in the township, we're paying half.
That's not really the case, the way I look at it, Doc. Originally the township was gonna own their system, and they decided not to. There was gonna be agreements either way. Okay, but because the city's the grantee with RD, and because you're gonna be doing the O&M, and that was always a given, it really ends up in your court to present the person that you're going to provide the service to with your agreement, not for them to tell you in their agreement that they draft how you're gonna do that. You know, you're the big guy providing the service to the small guy, so you need to be sure that what's in the agreement is what you want. Obviously, in the end, they need to agree to it, but it would probably be the city's lead to put those things together. And Peter's pretty new. Peter's only been with the township for a handful of months, not a couple years, right, Ray? I mean, it's only
Yeah, it's been this year.
Huh?
He started this year with,
Yeah, I don't know if he started in January, but he started.
no, it's been May or something.
It hasn't been long. And, you know, Jay's situation made it a little tough for him to get too involved in it. And so what really happened is Ray took more of the lead and stuff. Peter put something together initially, the township paid 100% for,
Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent to common representation agreement with Peter Ryan for the development of the RD sewer contracts with Norway Township.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
No.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Next on the agenda, approval, U.S. Department of Agricultural RD wastewater treatment plant project engineering amendment. We have Bruce Hawkinson from Mead and Hunt here. Could you come up? On August 19th, we had a special meeting to go over seven items of increased scope for the wastewater treatment plant project that we are currently doing the engineering and getting ready to bid out. And at that meeting, we narrowed down the 7 to 4 items that we felt should be included. Those 4 items led to an increased cost of engineering of $19,900 and bringing the total engineering to $677,900. This is to approve what we had went over at the special meeting.
Yeah, just to clarify, the items that we took out of there were not necessarily taken out of the project. The decision was made that those things would be pursued more from an informal solicitation process that RD allows, where you go out on some of these, and at some point in time, you may need some help from us with some of that, but it wouldn't be done formally and in the regular bidding documents. So just to make it clear, we didn't take them out of the project, we took them out of our main work.
Right, we're not engineering them at this time.
Right.
Because they're small enough that we can, most of them are small enough,
The
we
oth-
can handle them separately.
Yeah, the other thing is we got approval from RD on those, particularly, remember the compost one was a real big one. We got permission from RD to not include it at all in the regular bidding and see how much money we have left before we pursue some of those. So they're kind of sitting over here waiting to see if there's money even for them after we bid the regular project. So.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
What's attached to this is just the same thing that you had at the meeting with the other 3 lopped off and some totals at the bottom.
Okay. Is there a motion one way or another on this? Okay, there's no motion taken, so are we tabling this then?
Is there a misunderstanding?
Yeah, I guess, we
We're a little
went over this
confused.
in detail. I thought when we left the meeting, we were all on the same page with it, but maybe not.
Please let us know, because if we table it, we gotta know what we're supposed to do.
I guess we're looking for an amendment to add $19,900 to it.
Right.
I'll make that motion that we add $19,900 to the engineering costs for the WWTP project.
I'll support it. Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by myself to approve the amendment.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Thanks, Bruce. Next, we have approval, special events application for Leif Erikson 2014. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is our annual Leif Erikson event. I'm giving you the information from the Leif Erikson Committee on their special events application and giving you an idea of what's going to happen on that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's now a 3-day event. There's a number of areas, public properties that are be utilized throughout the event, and it's our policy and requirement to have council approve the use of the areas in town, the public areas in town, for these types of activities. There's also, like all of our now special events that involve, especially these community-wide events, where you're going to have to address the sign, your sign ordinance, giving some flexibility or, you know, rescinding certain portions of it to allow for certain signs in certain areas for the event, if you so choose. I don't know, if you have any questions, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Well, the event is Saturday, October 11th. As part of it, some of the streets right off of Main Street will be closed for the first block off of Main Street. And that's part of 8th Avenue, part of 6th Avenue, and both sides of 5th Avenue will be closed off of Main Street for that day. They have the whole schedule out. I think I've seen it posted around town somewhere. If not, it will be soon. Looking at their sign request, it looks like they want a number of signs, looks like in all the traffic calming devices on Main Street, and a few going down the highway. As part of this application, are we willing to allow them, based on where they have them marked they have a map for where they mark them? Are we willing to allow them to put the signs out in those locations? Because typically, especially along Main Street, signs are not allowed in the traffic calming devices. Or do we want to restrict them to a certain number of signs?
I think they can use any signs they want as long as they're taken down at the end of the day.
Well, would you give them through the weekend, because they do have events through Friday through Sunday?
At the end of the event, I should say.
Okay.
Were these for the weekend or these for advertising prior to? Because they have it, well, they have a date on here. What is that? They have 10/6 through 12, so it's a little before.
Okay, in their sign application, like Chris pointed out, they want to put the signs up the week before on 10/6 and let them up through 10/13, so to advertise the upcoming event. That was their request. They don't have the specific locations on the application. Like I say, the map is a little tough to read, but it looks like you can kind of get an idea where.
I think they're, you know, based on the X's on this original, probably easier for me to read my original. You know, the staff doesn't have any issue with the locations they're talking about. They got a couple signs at the fire hall, a couple signs on each side of Main Street, on US 2 on Main Street, in the heart of town, and then along US 2 going out west side of town. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not a lot when you think of the stretch. So the biggest question will be the traffic calming devices. Again, I think as long as they keep them back so that there's no vision issue with people coming out, they keep them back inside the calming devices. Again, we don't have a problem. We have a problem when they put them right out on the end, because if somebody's coming out, they can't see, or they might block vision. So that's our. And then, of course, you know, in the pocket park, that's always been a hot spot that we've, you know, rustled out signs before. But again, for a citywide event, I don't think we have that much of an issue.
It looks like the pocket park is in their application.
It is in their application, yeah. So you know, based on what they're asking for, we don't see any problems with that.
I make a motion we approve the special event application for Big Fair since 2014.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Last thing on the agenda this evening is approval, Norway Volunteer Fire Department raffle license. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are in the process of working with our volunteer firemen to get them to be a 501c3 designated nonprofit. That's the volunteer side. And but right now they still haven't finished their paperwork application for that. They are from a state standpoint a regulated entity, However, they just don't have that 501c3 status, or C, whatever, tax exempt. They cannot get a raffle license without that status. So, you know, they have been planning to have an event around Halloween. And, you know, through our conversations this last week, late last week, it was apparent that they needed us to approve to get that raffle license. They're planning to have some prizes, have some of the raffle going on at this party. It's to raise money for the department, fireworks and some of the other activities that, some equipment that they buy for the firemen. So they do a wonderful job of helping and participating in you know, supporting the efforts. It's just this legal side. So I asked David to put out a request, you know, for council at the last minute to, you know, so that you'd allow them to get that raffle license. Now, hopefully next year they can get their own license, because hopefully next year they'll have their tax exempt paperwork completed and we can get that designation. So I'll just answer any questions at this point, I guess.
Grant, do you see any issue with it? Everything looks in order?
Not that I'm seeing, no.
Okay. What's council's pleasure?
I see no problem with it. We need a motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that the volunteer fire department be approved to apply for a raffle license for November 1st, 2014.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
That's our business this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any subject? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. Okay, Lee.
Yeah, I got a couple of roses here. I see the Michigan's Upper Peninsula Pure Michigan UP travel book here across your path. It's nice that Norway was mentioned in here under Dickinson County under biking trails, where Dickinson County has 4 biking trails and Norway has 2 of them. And you might as well figure Lake Fumy's ours, so say we got 3 out of the 4, which was nice to see in here. And also, I've had nothing but good comments about the job that he did on blacktopping this summer. So the guys, a couple people I were talking to, they said they did everything right. They cleaned the holes out, they heated them up, packed the blacktop down on there, and they did a real good job. They're very happy. That's all I have.
But I would agree, Lee, because from what I've seen, 7th Avenue was one of the ones they got earlier in the summer, and I haven't seen a single one chip out at all. They're all holding good. Dr. Hayes.
No comments.
Chris. The only comment I got is I want people to be aware there's going to be some changes to the channel lineup on September 24th, I believe it is. Some of the channels are moving around. I think we're losing one. I don't know which one it is, but we're gaining one.
Game Show Network,
So we're losing Game Show Network?
yes.
That's going to the digital.
It's going to digital,
I think
though.
it might be in digital.
We're moving it to digital to make room for FXX.
And that's a contractual requirement. that
Yes.
we have.
I know, I was just going to.
Yeah.
And what does FXX have?
They're more of an entertainment movie type channel.
You know the FX that we have now? Just a second one of them, just 1X bigger. They can't go any further.
I can't watch any more movies.
Well, and they can't go any further with their designations, because then they're gonna be in trouble with the kind of programming they'll have on there, so. But yeah, it's because of contractual obligations with the cable providers that we get our service through, and with who we buy the channels from. They're requiring us to put these in a certain order in certain locations and carry certain channels.
We are going to send out a direct mailer to all our current cable subscribers before the 24th, and we're also going to have in a regular utility stuffer, it'll be after the 24th, but it'll have some additional information.
And the lineup should be available down at City Hall. If
Yes.
anybody wants one beforehand, they can come down and see what's going to be changing. So it will be available down here at City Hall. Joe, what do you got?
Okay, I just wanted to comment, last week we had a substantial amount of rain and quite a bit of washouts on a lot of our shoulders and roads. We spent the majority of the day on Friday and again today trying to repair all those washouts. Obviously, we don't drive on every single road in the community, so if there are some we've missed, to just call in and let us know where they're at so we can address all the issues with washouts. Again, late this afternoon, we were in a flood warning for Tuesday, Wednesday, another 2 inches of rain possible. And we've already got a lot of rain, so we're having a lot of issues at the hydro dam with high water. We're actually spilling water down to hydro. We're using everything we can to produce power, which we're doing very well at that. But we are spilling.
Has that affected the coffer dam?
No,
Didn't they start?
coffer dam is not in place yet.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
They were supposed to start on the
They
3rd,
they
weren't
were,
or the 2nd?
there's some issues with some concrete pier that's down there on the dive inspection that we have to address. So you'll be hearing more about that later on. But, so we're gonna have another round on Wednesday, and I'm sure a lot of these washouts will come right back again, and we'll just get back out on them and try to fix them, so.
I'd like to make one comment on that. I asked why we weren't going out for bids last February on fixing our dam. And you said, well, we can't do it until the weather warms up, and then the weather warmed up, and we finally put out bids, and now we're getting to September when we're getting all this rain. I think we should have asked for bids in February when I asked about it and had it done in the summer. Not that that makes any difference at this point.
Normally, this is the driest time of the season. September, October. This is
October's our wettest.
this is an anomaly.
There was only about 3 weeks in August where we were actually dry. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been really a wet year. We've had high water, high groundwater this whole year, it seems like.
Mary? Tricia? Grant, anything you'd like to add?
Ever so briefly, I wanted to extend my appreciation again to the council for placing the confidence in my office to help out here temporarily. I'm happy to be able to help out on a temporary basis, and time will tell. Hopefully, it'll be a long-term relationship with our office. But I appreciate the opportunity here in the meantime, and I know I have big shoes to fill. And Jay presented a great guide as city attorney for this great city for a long period of time, and hopefully this table will be filled with competent representation in the future, just like Jay provided in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray?
The only thing that I wanted to comment on is, I'm gonna kind of take off from what Joe said. He asked about, for washouts, if we have, if you come across something, to call the office. That's with the type of summer we've had, the winter, it started with the winter and then kind of carried over into spring and summer. The guys have been nonstop on this long list that we have. And I mean, there's projects that we had wanted to get to, and I mean, as you look, it's already mid-September coming up here shortly. We're bumping mid-September and October. With what we know we have historically with leaf pickup, and I mean, we really are paring down with what we're really targeting, to complete. There are going to be those projects that go into next year. I'll just say that, Joe and I talked about it earlier today. We talked about the compost site as a big priority. We really want to get that one knocked out. Stumps, I mean, not so much. We might be going into the summer or into the winter talking to you about how we're going to attack those next year. We talked about the tree planting program. Maybe that's not so much. Maybe we hit that in the spring, which is typically when we do it. It's just that that takes the guys about another week and a half of work. And so I just want to hopefully have everybody's patience and as we pare down and get ready for forecasted another rough winter. So, but if you do see something out there, whether it's the washout, let us know. Call the office. we're not trying to miss anything, we just wanna, we wanna know about it, and we'll get to it as best we can, Okay.
We have no closed session this evening. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
The motion we adjourn.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.